Welcome to This Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here with us today because we are tackling one of the most pressing and, frankly, overwhelmingly complex challenges that enterprise development teams face right now. We're talking about migrating operations from Azure DevOps to GitHub. If you're a CTO, an engineering lead, or just a focused learner trying to figure out how to move your entire development lifecycle to an AI-native platform without, completely derailing your active projects, well, you are in the exact right place. We've synthesized playbooks from Microsoft, Code Cargo, and real-world case studies from Lean Techniques to give you a crystal-clear, structured path forward.
Okay, let's dive into this, because to truly appreciate the solution, we kind of have to grasp the sheer scale of the problem. Take Lean Techniques, for example. They're an engineering consultancy that recently took on this exact challenge, and they were staring down a massive migration of about 2,000 active repositories. 2,000! We're talking a wild mix of tech stacks here. .NET, Java, Python, Node, covering front-end, back-end, batch processing, the whole shebang. And lurking inside those repositories, tens of thousands of exposed secrets scattered across classic ADO pipelines.
Which brings us to the multi-million-dollar question. How do you migrate thousands of repos and pipelines without breaking the business? Moving from Azure DevOps to GitHub is not just dragging and dropping a few folders. Manual YAML conversion for hundreds of custom CI/CD pipelines, it is incredibly tedious and highly prone to error. Plus, let's be honest, engineers are terrified of losing their precious code history, their branches, tags, and pull request metadata. You literally can't ask your engineering teams to just stop shipping features for 6 months while you manually untangle all this mess. You need a strategic playbook.
And here is our roadmap out of the wilderness. 1. The Great Migration Challenge. 2. The Hybrid DevOps Strategy. 3. AI and Automation Accelerators. 4. Executing the Playbook. 5. Handling the Edge Cases. And 6. The Agentic DevOps Future.
Section 1. The Great Migration Challenge.
So, when you open up an older Azure DevOps environment, what do you usually find? Well, typically it's a massive sprawl of duplicated custom pipelines and truly pervasive technical debt. Think of it like moving to a new house. You've lived in your current place for 10 years, right? The garage is packed full of junk. Why on earth would you pack up all that heavy, clunky technical debt and pay to move it to a brand new, pristine home? You shouldn't. This migration is your ultimate opportunity to clean house. We don't want manual YAML conversion slowing us down, and we absolutely want to cure that fear of losing critical code history.
Section 2. The Hybrid DevOps Strategy.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core paradigm shift we're talking about today. You see, you have to understand that these two platforms, even though they're both owned by Microsoft, serve totally different primary strengths. Azure DevOps is designed from the ground up for the enterprise. It's process-heavy, features incredibly robust project management through Azure boards, and connects natively to Azure. GitHub, on the other hand, it evolved from the open-source world. It's centered around an open ecosystem, community, and most importantly today, it is an AI-native software development lifecycle platform driving the future with Copilot-driven development.
So, what's the hybrid strategy that relieves all that anxiety of a massive rip and replace? It's surprisingly simple. You do not have to abandon everything in ADO. The smartest move is to keep your planning in Azure boards and your testing in Azure test plans. What actually moves to GitHub is your source code into GitHub Repositories and your CI/CD automation into GitHub Actions. You literally get the absolute best of both worlds. Azure DevOps' robustness for management and GitHub's advanced environment for development.
Now, you might be thinking, wait a minute, what do I have to pay for 2 different platforms? Actually, no. As of February 2025, Microsoft introduced the Unified License. Basic Azure DevOps is now included with GitHub Enterprise Cloud at no additional cost. As long as your users connect via Microsoft's identity management, Entra ID, their access just updates automatically. This licensing update is an absolute game changer. It's the ultimate enabler for this risk-free hybrid strategy because it officially removes the financial barrier to adopting this best-of-breed setup.
Section 3. AI and Automation Accelerators.
With the strategy and licensing all sorted out, how do we actually do the heavy lifting of moving those pipelines without doing it all by hand? Enter AI. David Whiten from Code Cargo hit the nail on the head when he said that creating a single reusable workflow to replace old pipelines will significantly reduce technical debt and reduce engineering time spent reinventing the wheel. AI tools like Code Cargo's Expert Workflow Agent or GitHub Copilot can literally scan your environment, identify your core automations, and build sleek, modular, reusable workflows over in GitHub Actions.
And the results here are super impressive. Going back to our Lean Techniques case study, They fed GitHub Copilot prompt templates containing their repository names, tech stacks, and environment requirements. Copilot just worked its magic in the background, automatically generating pull requests with the necessary GitHub Actions configurations. This AI automated conversion successfully covered about 80% of their workflow migration cases, leaving just 20% for manual effort. Sure, it wasn't completely flawless, but it radically accelerated their adoption curve and saved a massive amount of engineering time.
Section 4. Executing the playbook.
So the crucial point is following a very specific order of operations during the actual physical move. Microsoft gives us a specialized GitHub CLI extension called G80O to GH. Step 1. You authenticate by setting your ADO and GitHub environment variables. Step 2, and please do not skip this, install the Azure Pipelines app on GitHub. If you don't do this first, the whole integration just won't work. Step 3, you generate your script using the CLI. And step 4, you execute that custom migration script.
If you're sweating a bit worried about the script breaking your active environment, take a deep breath. Microsoft built this extension with incredible safety nets. When executed, it automatically locks your Azure DevOps source repositories to read-only, so absolutely no data gets lost mid-transit. It features robust error handling. If one repo fails, it just skips to the next one without crashing the whole script. It automatically rewires your pipelines to point to GitHub, flawlessly preserves your entire commit history, branches, and tags, and even creates GitHub teams with identity provider synchronization. It completely has your back. Section 5. Handling the edge cases.
Of course, no migration is entirely without its quirks, right? The most common edge case is dealing with user identities, specifically something called mannequins. Now, a mannequin is just a placeholder identity created in your GitHub Git history for Azure DevOps users whose usernames aren't recognized. But fixing this is super easy. The extension lets you generate a CSV file of these mannequins. You just map the placeholder to the real GitHub username, run a reclaim command, and boom! The user gets an email invite to claim their historical commits. Clean and simple.
The second edge case involves work items. If you poke around the GitHub community forums, you'll see tons of people asking how to import Azure boards into GitHub issues. Well, the reality is, GitHub's importer only handles Git data, not work items. Like we discussed in our hybrid strategy, the lowest risk option is to simply leave your work items natively in Azure boards. If you absolutely must move them, you're stuck relying on custom REST API mapping scripts or third-party tools, and honestly, you might lose fidelity like comments and attachments. Keep it simple for sure, and stick to the hybrid approach.
Section 6. The Agentic DevOps Future.
Once the script is run and those edge cases are handled, you have finally arrived at your destination. But before popping the champagne, you need to run through a quick post-migration validation checklist. Verify all repositories are accessible on GitHub. Ensure your branches and tags are present. Confirm those Azure DevOps pipelines actually rewired and are functional. Ensure your mannequins have been successfully reclaimed, and crucially, communicate with your teams to have them update their local Git configurations. Once they point their local Git remote URLs to the new GitHub origin, their day-to-day workflow remains completely identical.
Let's move to and see how this builds into something truly transformative. Because your code is now hosted in GitHub, you have unlocked the full potential of Agentic DevOps. We're not just talking about a shiny new interface here, it's about intelligent, autonomous code generation with the Copilot coding agent. It's about agentic code review that catches bugs before they even merge. It's Copilot autofix, automatically remediating vulnerabilities, all managed from Agent HQ. These are advanced, next-level capabilities that you simply cannot access if your code is stuck in Azure DevOps.
Which leaves us with this final thought. By leveraging the unified license, a smart hybrid strategy, AI workflow generation, and Microsoft's robust CLI tools, this migration is no longer the terrifying mountain it once was. It's a highly structured, manageable playbook. So the question isn't whether you can migrate thousands of repos and pipelines without breaking the business. The real question is, are you ready to stop managing old technical debt and start empowering your developers with the future of agentic DevOps? It might just be time to launch your own pilot program. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I hope this gives you the absolute clarity you need to take your next big step.